Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to the VD Sports Network. So today we're going to talk about the NHL playoff push, as unfortunately, maybe not so, the Four Nations tournament just came to an end last night with Canada defeating Team USA. But now it's time to get back into the regular season push and see who could potentially make their way into the Stanley Cup playoffs this June. So we're going to start in the NHL's Eastern Conference. Right now at the top of the Atlantic Division is the Florida Panthers, the defending Stanley Cup champions. Right below them is the Toronto Maple Leafs. Of course, they have a really good team. And then Tampa Bay Lightning in third. Of course, for those of you that don't know, the top three teams from each division punch their ticket to the playoffs along with two wild cards in each conference. We'll get into the Western Conference of the NHL a little bit later on. But right now, top three once again in the Atlantic Division. Florida Panthers, they're at 71 points, the defending Stanley Cup champions. Followed by the Toronto Maple Leafs, 68 points. And then the Tampa Bay Lightning at 66. Now let's go down to the division I'm very interested in as a New York Rangers fan, the Metropolitan Division. First place, we have Alex Ovechkin in the Washington Capitals. Then right behind, well, not right behind them, 10 points behind them is the Carolina Hurricanes, team the Rangers have had pretty damn good success against in the playoffs. And then right below them is the New Jersey Devils. So you have Washington at 80 points. That's tops in the entire league. Carolina Hurricanes at 70 and New Jersey at 68. Now let's go down to the very tight wild card race in the Eastern Conference. Right now you got 10 teams within 7 points of each other. You have right now the two top teams in the wild card race. You have the Ottawa Senators at 62 points. Right behind them is the Detroit Red Wings at 61. And then we dump down just out of the playoff picture. A lot of teams really clobbered in tight there. That's where my Rangers are. First, we have Columbus Blue Jackets at 60 points. Boston Bruins are right there with them at 60. Then my Rangers are down at 58. So hopefully Rangers could go on a nice run here the last 30-something games. They resume tomorrow late afternoon in Buffalo. And then right below the Rangers is the Islanders at 57. And there's a three-way tie between the Montreal Canadiens, Pittsburgh Penguins, and the Philadelphia Flyers at 55. The only Eastern Conference team that's really not in the mix is the Buffalo Sabres. They're down at 22, 27, and 5 at 49 points. So as of right now, hopefully the Rangers could change this and get into the playoffs. But right now it would be the Detroit Red Wings playing the Washington Capitals in the first round. You'd have the Ottawa Senators playing against the Florida Panthers. Of course, that's very interesting because of Brady and Matthew Tkachuk, both on one. Brady is on Ottawa. Matthew is on Florida. Both of them just played excellent for Team US in the Four Nations face-off. Should be fun to see them play each other maybe in the playoffs, and definitely play with each other again in the Olympics next year. Hopefully, America can get the gold medal after falling a little bit short in Four Nations. But we have Ottawa, Florida, the Battle of the Tkachuks. Then we have the 2-3 matchups in each division. So it would be Tampa Bay, Toronto once again. Definitely potential for another interesting series. And then New Jersey and Carolina. Definitely that's very interesting. We'll see what happens down the stretch in the Eastern Conference. As long as the Rangers make it, I'll be happy. So hopefully they find a way. But as we see, there's a couple teams, but they're right there. They're at 58. The two playoff teams that they're chasing down, 62 and 61. So it's still plenty of time. Hopefully they could get it done. But once again, Eastern Conference playoffs, you have Detroit versus Washington, Ottawa versus Florida, Tampa Bay versus Toronto, and Carolina versus New Jersey. Let's now move over to the NHL's Western Conference. In the Western Conference right now, in the Pacific Division out west, you have a two-way tie for first. Two teams that have really been the class of the Pacific Division. The Edmonton Oilers, of course, they have Connor McDavid. He just last night scored the game-winning goal for Canada in the Four Nations. That one stings as an American, but like I mentioned, hopefully we can get the gold medal next year in Milano Cortina, Italy. Then we have Vegas Vegas is, I like Vegas. They're my second favorite team. They just recently made their swing through our area here. Lost to the Rangers at the Garden. Then they lost to the Islanders here on Long Island. And then they went into Newark and beat the Devils. So, yeah. And then you got the LA Kings at 65. Interesting because Edmonton and the Kings, last, I think, 3-4 years, have played each other in the Stanley Cup Playoffs. They were won by the Kings every time, but hey, if you're the LA Kings, you're really hoping maybe you get some fresh new blood and maybe you play Vegas. Meanwhile, the Central Division, always a very solid division. 4 very solid teams out in the Central. With Winnipeg, who's in first right now. They're at 81 points. They're actually ahead of the Capitals, who have 80. Then you have Dallas at 72. Minnesota at 70. And then those are 3 of the 4. And then speaking of the 4th, let's get down to the Western Conference wildcard race, where, surprise, the first one in the first spot is the other team that I'm talking about in the Central, the Colorado Avalanche. That team is ridiculous with Cale Makar, Nathan MacKinnon. They're crazy. They're at 68 points. And then Vancouver's at 63, and then Calgary at 60. It's not as quite tight and exciting as we mentioned over in the East. But, yeah, so the Western Conference right now would be Vancouver taking on Winnipeg in an all-Canada battle. It'd definitely be a very interesting battle for our neighbors up north. And then we have Colorado. They'd be playing Edmonton. That's another freaking crazy. McDavid getting Draisaitl against Makar and McKinnon. That's something that could be potential playoff series of the year, playoff series ever. That's such a great potential. You just saw McKinnon, Makar, and McDavid win the 4 Nations with Canada. Then you have Minnesota, Dallas. I feel like that's a playoff matchup we see a lot, but 2 really, really good teams. Definitely interesting matchup. And then we have LA, Vegas, 2 big markets out west, probably the 2 biggest markets out west, especially here in the United States. So definitely be interesting to see that. It'll be very interesting to see how the Stanley Cup playoffs play out and see from now till mid-April, the last 30-so games of the season, what the matchups will be come springtime. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed. Let's go Rangers. Thanks for watching.